Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Your Highness, Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Future Innovation Summit. I would like you to welcome with me a very special guest today, Dr. Samir AlMunda, who's the Director of Certificate Equivalency Department at the Ministry of Education. A round of applause, please, to welcome Dr. Sameera. So, Dr. Sameera, welcome. It is a great pleasure to having you here today, and especially with this interesting topic, which is the future of education and learning in the United Arab Emirates. So, if you can give us a small, brief introduction about yourself for the audience, and
Okay. I don't know if you can hear me. It's okay. Okay. Thank you. So it's okay. It's fine. Okay. Is it fine? Okay. So it's good that my speech came after Huri.com, not after the general steel. It will be very challenging to compete to what you present just now. Thank you very much. Myself, I'm Dr. Samir AlMunda. I graduated from computer engineering and from bachelor in computer engineering, followed by master in information security, PhD in digital forensics and cybersecurity. How I end up in Ministry of Education? This is a question requires investigation. However, I'm 100% sure that no matter your education background, your research background, still you can do the research in the field that you like, and at the same time you can serve a better for the community when you join education, when you join health sector. So indeed, I'm continuing my research no matter the field that I'm working in. The field I'm working in education and Ministry of Education. Faisal, thankfully, he introduced me that I'm the Director of Certificate Equivalency. And if you know about certificate equivalency, it's one of the hot services that we provide in Ministry of Education, given its criticality and its impact on the labor market in the UAE. And I would like to thank Mr. Adnan, who invited me in such important event, and thank you for the huge effort that you have been put as a team to have such successful event. To answer, did you ask the question?
So just before we start with the questions, first of all, thank you for a lovely introduction. I can truly say that we can all believe that education is one of the key pillars for having a well-equipped and knowledgeable future generation, and this is the whole theme behind innovation, is basically pushing towards the next levels and having a future generation take the torch and pass it on to the next. So starting off with the first question, what is the vision for the future of education in the United Arab Emirates?
Honestly, before I answer your question, all the answers I prepared was in Arabic, but when I came here, I saw that audience doesn't have the translator, so I'll continue in English. The future of education, actually, it's a huge, huge responsibility. Ministry of Education can be part in a huge community such as UAE with multidisciplinary, multinational society. We have more than 200. We are serving schools with more than 10 different curriculums. We have huge diversity in education system hosted within the UAE. So Ministry of Education role is to set the standards, regulation, the policies, but they cannot do everything. Education, health, it's part of collaborative responsibility among the whole community member. Today, parents need to be well educated, staff need to be well educated, all the students. Today in this room, except the kids who performed in the beginning, do we have students in the room? No, we don't have. Most of them are staff employee. So maintaining the continuous learning is a responsibility of individual. What can Ministry of Education do is to enable that through the standards, through the regulation, to make sure that we reach to a high quality of education within the UAE, and to make sure that we are in the top education system among the map of the educational map, if I can say. And UAE, I believe it's one of the countries that have centennial plan. This means that after 100 years, where we are going to be for education. And this adds much more pressure on education, because the aim is to have #1 education among the world. 49 years for education, it's around the corner. It's not that it's 50 years coming, we can relax. No, it's around the corner. So I would like to quote, is it fine? I said so many valuable things now. Okay, so I would like to quote now the new king of Twitter, Elon Musk, quote. He said, "Changing education system is much harder than sending people to Mars." This agree and disagree from being in education system, and especially being in UAE with the support of our leaders and our rulers in UAE. We are adopting the policies, the technology as fast and faster than other nations. So I think we might defeat what Elon Musk said. Maybe the change in education system can be faster in UAE than other countries, and we are putting our best under the supervision of the direction of our leadership. And inshallah, we hope that all the future generation will be, they get the #1 education regardless of their nationality, regardless of their curriculum that they are studying. Thank you. Thank you.
It reminded me of a quote I've recently came across. I'm sure a lot would have relate to that. It says that 21st century students are taught by 20th century teachers on 19th century curriculum using 18th century techniques. So that reassures the fact that education is one of the most difficult systems to change. So going on to our next question, what are the different strategies that can be considered as education innovation enablers?
Innovation in education had been adopted like maybe more than 10 years when the innovation became a trendy word. Innovation is there since ages, maybe since very old ages. But in education, we adopt a lot of innovation elements in different aspects. Today, when we talk about innovation in education, we are talking about innovation within the ecosystem, within the schools, within the universities, among the faculty member, among the learners. Actually, I personally don't recommend and don't like to call the students as the students. Our clients are always learners, regardless of their age group, regardless of the environment where they are studying. Because innovation needs to be augmented within those human factors that we have. And then the innovation comes in the next layer, which is the processes. We have huge platform of processes in education. The education method between the faculty, and as you said, and you quoted very correctly, the teachers are from different century and the students are from different century. So how to raise the awareness in processes and adopt the technology and that can enable the innovation within the educational environment. So I took it very long in the introduction. So what was the question again?
Well, you did cover a big portion
Yes.
of it, and I can say you've satisfied that part
But
as
I
well.
have to mention one thing regarding the enabler of innovation, because we are talking about innovation and the future of education. This is a question you can ask yourself right now within a few seconds. What are the enablers for the innovation? Does the innovation pops up? From my reading, I came across three main enablers for innovation. It's reading the market, understanding the client's need. We are talking about students, so understanding the learner needs and the labor market needs, and finally, to adopt as soon as possible the technology. Today, we saw about metaverse and many more to come. So we always attend in sessions and technology sessions that whatever the human being experienced in last 20 years will be nothing in front of what we are going to experience in coming 5 years. So I think we have to adopt those technology within the education. And let me give some credits to Ministry of Education, where we have been 10 years from now, and the quality of our learners graduated from the education system is much more better than before. I myself is a graduation of Emirati school. I'm proud of myself. But when I see my kids, I cannot compete their skills. So I think we are improving. And as I said, 49 years is just around the corner. So we have to prepare.
Touching on the point that age doesn't matter when it comes to learning, as in learning has no age limit. And as a continuation on Stephen's speech about leadership, leaders are always and constantly learning from the people, learning from their experiences in life. Even if you reach, it's like a seed that the more you try to take from, it will keep on continuing. So it's an amazing journey that we see the path of development, and it's good to see that my country as nationals, to be proud of the United Arab Emirates being on the forefront of education, of health, of innovation. So it's a sense of pride to us all. Heading on to the next question, what role does education play in the blockchain industry?
Okay, I would rather rephrase that question. What the role of education play in the fourth and the upcoming revolutions? Because blockchain is one of the application and one of the technologies that falls under the fourth industrial revolution. So when we better talk about a wider spectrum such as education and health, it has to be mapped to the fourth industrial revolution technologies. It can be metaverse, it can be augmented reality, virtual reality, blockchain. Going back to the point of blockchain, in Ministry of Education, I would rather say that it's normal that we deal with a lot of documents. We have certificates, equivalency, so we have equivalency certificates. We have tests, the reports of the test. So successfully, alhamdulillah, and today we have a very successful story with the blockchain, where with support of TDRA in UAE, we uploaded most of our critical documents on the blockchain. This is in terms of using or producing our outcome in terms of documents on the blockchain, utilizing the technology to serve the education. On other aspects, our curriculum supporting, and we have the whole curriculum from grade 1, maybe early childhood education, all the way to year 12, about the computer science and how the advanced science is augmented within the curriculum. So we have a complete curriculum, changes in depth of tackling those technology. So I'm touching now both points, how to enable our generation with information that they need, and with respect to fourth, and I don't know, it's increased exponentially. So today it's fourth industrial revolution, it might be 10th in coming years. So this is just to answer your question.
Well, it's a great point because we live in a world that is very fast-paced, is moving quite quick. Even we look at it from the amount of information that we're exposed to on a day-to-day basis. Our apps, for example, if when we order food, as a very basic example of that, it takes us 3 clicks and the food is in front of our doorstep in 30 to 45 minutes. So if anything, sectors need to be able to cope with that changes, specifically when it comes to education as well. So going to the last question and saving the best for last, as to say, it is in line with the sustainable development goals that we have been, as the UAE and as a global initiative by the United Nations, we've been pursuing quite heavily. So in relation to that, what would be the impact of sustainable education in the development of the UAE?
Okay, if you allow me, I just reformed this question also. So, sustainable education, education was there since ages and it was there to be sustained. So, I just reform it to say that the sustainable of innovation within the education, the sustainable of improvement within the education system. And this is what we are targeting and what we are aiming for at Ministry of Education. We are trying not only to reach to a level and stop, we are trying to make sure that the innovation and the technology adoption and the enhancement improvement keeps improved and sustain that, the increasing, I can say the increasing trend, and to make sure that the graduates that we have from our education system, whether early childhood education, going to general education to higher education and to the market, they are all skills. Education is one thing, skills is another important thing that they all need to be weaponized in order to succeed and to make sure that UAE always comes in the first place in other sectors.
Definitely, it's education has been here for a very, very long time. It's just about sustaining the systems and the processes involved, developing them. So this is our time, and I very much can say that I've enjoyed this fireside chat, and thank you for being with us today.
Thank you, but I think we are missing a fire here, right? I thought that there is a fire. Thank you.